So, with apologies to Brian Blessed and the film Flash Gordon, look it up. La Liga's alive. What happened last night in Madrid was pretty remarkable. The title of Marca says today, Madrid don't deliver the league to Barcelona. During the day, Brahim Diaz, who was going to play in the starting 11, was injured, and Madrid had 11 first-team players out, meaning that on the night that they had to beat Mallorca in order not to hand the league directly to Football Club Barcelona, who play Espanyol tonight, they were in grave danger of playing too many non-first-team players. There's a rule in La Liga that there's a set amount of first-team players that must always be on the pitch, and therefore, once Brahim was out, Madrid were able to name 10 first-teamers in their lineup against Mallorca. But if there were red cards or injuries or a general kerfuffle, which is a Spanish word, then there were only 2 changes that Madrid could make from their bench without the match automatically becoming illegal and all 3 points being handed to Mallorca, and the title being handed to Barcelona. So, if that wasn't enough drama to set up tonight's match at Cornellà, just across town over towards the airport, what about the fact that Mallorca led for the majority of the match, and midway through the second half, it was 1-0 to the Islanders at the Bernabeu. Mbappe, man of the match, scores from a pass from Luka Modric, and then the drama really starts, because it's been hell for Real Madrid's centre-halves recently. The majority of them have had ACL injuries. Asensio is now going to have to face court charges for incidents in his past. And they started with Jacobo Ramon, a 20-year-old who's had next to no game time this season with the first 11, who's a part of Raul's Castilla side. He started the match because Tchouaméni was suspended, Militao isn't fit, and Alaba isn't fit, and we could go on and on and on. And he's not at fault for the first goal, but in minute 94 of 95, it will turn out, Madrid are backs against the wall. The title belongs to Football Club Barcelona until Vallejo, the other centre-half, who hasn't played a single minute since September, that's how much Ancelotti rated him, gets ahead on a wild lob into the box. And young Jacobo Ramon wrestles with his defender, gets a touch on it. The ball lobs over Leo Romano, who had a blinder of a match in goal for Mallorca. 2-1 to Los Blancos. On a day when the papers are reporting that they've signed Housen, the Dutch-born Spanish international playing centre-back at Bournemouth, for 60 million quid on that day, and with Joan Martinez, watch out for that kid. Big, tall, 17-year-old centre-half, newly back in training after an ACL injury. If things weren't rosy for a club where they've got 11 injured and Carlo Ancelotti's leaving and they haven't won the Champions League and they're still right up against it for La Liga, if things aren't rosy in that circumstances, then at least they made the fans proud. The roar at the Bernabeu in minute 95 when they score, and the roar again when the whistle goes, tells you something about hurt pride, which hands the task over to Football Club Barcelona, champions elect, because they have to go across the city to their rivals, Espanyol. Now, this is not one that I'm going to sell like the Clásico, but nor is it a decaffeinated derby. It just isn't. So, for example, Espanyol have traditionally been aligned towards Real Madrid. It's not a non-Catalan club by any means, but historically, Espanyol supporters would have a sympathy for Real Madrid. It was a club that Real Madrid helped nurture a century ago. And Espanyol fans are not only perpetually sick of having to kowtow to Barcelona, Barcelona winning all the trophies, Barcelona getting all the coverage in the Catalan football papers. All those things really sting. But think of it this way. Espanyol have almost always had a very good youth system. What do Barcelona do? They lean over the neighbour's fence, and when the grass is greener, they pinch the turf. So, kid after kid. For example, a couple of days ago I interviewed Marco Correa, who was born up the coast in Catalonia and was picked up, that's probably him heading off for his breakfast now, and was picked up by Espanyol and spent nearly 5 years there before Barcelona went, all right, we're having you. Claudio Pina, for example, the striker for Barca's feminine side, that scored the vast majority of the goals that's sending Barca's women's team to the Champions League final yet again in Lisbon on the 24th. She began at Espanyol and Barcelona leaned over the fence and said, we're having you. Are there examples of it going the other way? A little bit. Ivan de la Peña, Barca legend, ended up playing for Espanyol, scored a couple for Pochettino's side. Espanyol winning in the Camp Nou when Pep Guardiola was in his first season. Yeah, it happens. Espanyol very nearly took a very young Leo Messi on loan. But for example, today, Lamine Yamal is not only Barcelona's standout footballer or Spain's standout footballer, but arguably the standout footballer in the world. Now, when he was coming through, aged 6, Espanyol spotted him first, signed a convention with La Torreta, the club that Lamine was at, and although he was on holiday in Morocco with his father, aged 6, Espanyol were about to complete the signing of this deeply talented kid. There were a flurry of memos which have now been made public at Football Club Barcelona, where the coaches and the scouts said, we have to get this guy now, we have to sign him or he's going to end up at Espanyol. This is him aged 6, remember. They eventually do sign him, he's gone on to legendary status, and it's just one more thorn in the side of Espanyol about fucking Barcelona. I hope there'll be no trouble tonight, but it's the case that because there's been so much bother in the past, particularly a couple of years ago when Xavi's Barcelona won the title and at Espanyol and celebrated, and there was trouble. If you're a Barca fan going to this game, you can't wear your scarf, you can't wear your shirt. No Barca colours are allowed in the stadium at all. If Barca draw, the league is nominally alive. If they win, that's it. League over, title won, and looking at it, it should be a Barca win. But remember, Manolo, this lowly youth academy, semi-pro coach, has got Espanyol playing a brand of football which is defend deep, transitions, they're second best to Barcelona this season in terms of creating danger and scoring on transitions. And they beat Real Madrid 1-0 at this very Cornellà stadium, where they've never defeated Barcelona since it opened in 2009. They beat Real Madrid this season. Could they do that? Could they give their big neighbours a bloody nose and keep the league alive for the last 2 fixtures when Barcelona respectively have to play Villarreal and Athletic Club? They could, you know. Will they? I don't think so. I have it down in my head as 2-1 to Football Club Barcelona. But thanks to Jacobo, Ramon and Real Madrid, La Liga's alive. Look it up. Stay tuned.